All right. Well, obviously it wasn't the outcome that we wanted on Saturday, and kind of starting off with the negatives. Really, we played 95 plays, and it really came down to right there at the end, a couple plays. I really think, 5 plays that really hurt us. Obviously, the 3 interceptions. One of them was on a tip. There wasn't a whole lot Deshaun could do there. He had a guy in his face. The other 2 were poor decisions that we can definitely learn from. And then really the last 2 plays there on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, those are really the 5 plays that, stick out. And you got to give Pitt credit. They made the plays. It wasn't like, we just completely rolled the ball out there. They had to make the plays, and they did that. And we were not able to execute. And, the shame of it is, outside of those 5 plays, we played really well. Probably one of our best performances of the year. Deshaun threw the ball as well as outside of those interceptions as well as he ever has in his career at Clemson. To complete 70.
52 of 70.
Yeah, 52 of 70, 74% on 70 passes. I thought the conversions between him and Mike was great chemistry, best it's been all year. And, and Deshaun did a great job. There was a lot of decision making in that game. There was a lot of run-pass options, and, because of how they chose to play us defensively, there was a lot of, I think we had 10 throws out there just on the bubbles to the wideouts. I thought they did a good job out there. We averaged about 6.5 yards every time that we threw it out there on one of the bubbles. And then, we had a lot of runs that were tagged in with a quick game. And Deshaun made some great decisions. I think talking to Coach Streeter, he had 4 poor decisions in his 95 plays, and 3 of those were the interception and 1 other. And but that's how this game is. It's the room for error is very small, and even though we did a lot of positive things, that the difference in the game for us offensively were the turnovers in the red zone, and then right there at the end, not being able to get the first down when we needed to. Haven't had a lot of adversity here at Clemson. A lot of these guys that have been around here, I think y'all know the stat, 126 of the last 28. So, this is a good opportunity for us. It's not one that you want, but it's a good opportunity for all of us as coaches and players to really be able to learn, and be a great opportunity as a coach this week to really have the guys' attention and kind of get refocused a little bit. And I believe that this will make us better as we go and make us stronger and be more of a complete offense and complete team as we get ready to go down the stretch. So, we'll come in, and the guys will come in this afternoon. We'll go over all the corrections. We'll, lay out everything that we did good, and also the mistakes that we made and what we need to do to improve upon it the next time. And then we'll move on to Wake Forest. And that's probably the best thing about it is we get to play this week as opposed to the last time we lost. It was a long off season before we got to play again. Very impressed with Wake Forest when you turn on the video. Very athletic. We were up here with some official visitors after the game, and had the game on, and I think they were up 12-10 with 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter at Louisville. So they'll definitely have our full attention. I think their staff has done a great job here over the last couple of years in recruiting with some of their personnel. They're very long in the secondary. I mean, every one of those guys is 6 foot plus. They're long and can run. They've got 7 starters back on defense, and that includes all 4 guys up front. And so you don't have a lot of time to feel sorry for yourself or anything like that. It's time to go back to work and put all your energy and efforts into going and being 1-0 this week, and that's what we'll do.
Coach, you mentioned a couple of bad decisions Deshaun made, even though he played an incredible game. But from the outside, it seems like he's made a lot more of those than last season. Do you see that? Do you see it that way? And do you ever feel like maybe he's overconfident in his ability sometimes throwing coverage?
Since you brought up last season, let's pull this out. After 10 games, he's got 39 more completions, 78 more passing attempts. When you throw the ball more, you have more opportunities for interceptions. 476 more yards passing this year after 10 games, 4 more touchdown passes. Doesn't seem like that, does it? Right, because of our narrative. He does have 5 more interceptions, so that's the biggest negative and the biggest difference of what everybody's kind of judging him on. But touchdowns responsible. He's one more. He's got 29 in this year as opposed to 28 last year. And total offense, Deshaun just himself in total offense, 254 more yards this year than last year. So, I think it's very easy to pick out the negative. Obviously, he's made some mistakes that he would like to take back. But you play this game long enough, that's going to happen. And really, ultimately, what it is he was on a very high pedestal going into the year, and rightly so because of everything that he did last year. And but that doesn't mean that he was going to come out and be perfect. He's not perfect. None of our coaches are perfect. None of our players are perfect. But there's a great chance he's going to go down as the best quarterback in the history of this football program. And so we've got a lot of confidence in him. He's a guy that will learn and has learned. And I promise you, when he let a couple of those balls go, he wanted them back really quickly. But there's no one that'll critique himself and learn from it better than him. But that's the shame of it, because you go back and watch the video. I mean, there was 4 or 5 throws he made in the first half on third down conversions where literally he stepped over a guy and then threw it on 1 foot to Mike Williams on 3rd and 12. I mean, there were several of those where I go, that's the NFL throw right there on a corner route to leg it right in between 2 defenders. And so, yes, there's some negatives there that he's got to clean up. There's a lot more positives than negatives, and that's how we choose. That's kind of Coach Sweeney's culture that he's brought in here. Hey, when there's things that we got to correct, let's get them corrected. But we're not going to believe in any negative storylines or anything like that. That doesn't help anybody. Every one of us coaches, there's things that we could have done better in that game, just like every game. And I think that's our message to the players is, hey, what could you have done differently to help impact, the outcome of the game. And so that's the way we'll approach it this week.
The comparisons to last year aside, the outside narratives for Deshaun aside, even your coaching expectations of him aside, has he had the kind of year that he expected of himself?
I think that would be a question for y'all to ask him, because, I mean, we don't ask him going into the season, what do you expect of yourself this year? I think he's done a lot of good things. I know for myself personally, he's done really, really well and handled himself really well. And has he made a couple bad throws? Absolutely. And, it just happened this game that, they were in the red zone and cost us points. But, I mean, I guess part of it is we're around him every day. And so when you're around somebody every day and you just consistently, you know who they are, you know what type of player they are. And, so it's hard to have a couple plays. I mean, I think there was a pretty good quarterback last night, had the ball inside the 5 with, 4 downs to get it done and didn't get it done. He's probably the best ever in the history of the NFL. And so, I think we got to be careful how high we put these guys on the pedestal and what standard we hold them to and all that. Deshaun, he's a special player, and he didn't lose the game for us. We had opportunities. And a lot of guys had opportunities to win that game and do a few things different. But he's the quarterback, and that goes with the territory.
Does it get the expectations and that hype up?
I don't think his play has showed that. Like I said, he didn't practice a whole lot last week and goes out and throws it 70 times. He probably threw it 20 times in practice the whole week. Went through it 70 times and completed 74%. And made some great decisions. That's a tough defense to play right there in what they were doing defensively. And, you got to have a great decision maker out there. And I thought he made a great decision. Again, we're talking about 95 plays, and we're talking about 4 out of 95. I think all of us, in our line of business, that's a pretty high success rate. Just unfortunately, the couple that he made mistakes on were very costly.
Jeff, speaking on a couple of those, do you question, I don't know, look back on that 3rd and 4th down running plays and what maybe thinking you could have done something else there, or is that just?
Yeah, I think obviously as a coach you always do that when it's not successful. That the heavy package that we were in, I believe we were 5 for 5 this year in that, and it's kind of like, all right, I mean that was what we were talking about is the third down play. That's a play that we've been very successful on in the past, and we don't run a whole lot. It's kind of like when you got to have it, go get it. And their end made a really good play. He stood up and kind of held the point and allowed the other guys to fill in. And then the last play with the heavy package in there, it's been really good for us this year. But obviously, when it doesn't work, you can come up with about, we can come up with about 10 other things we would have liked to have done in that situation. But we were pretty unanimous. We had 2 timeouts. We had time to think about it and all that. And there was some discussion, but I think we were all on board with what we called. It just came down to executing, and their defense executed better than our offense. And but definitely as a coach, I mean that's part of it. When you don't have stuff that's not successful, even the interception we threw down there, there's things that we could have done differently looking back. But in the heat of the moment, we've also made a lot of good plays on a lot of those same calls. So. And we've won a lot of games that have been close like that. And so it kind of goes both ways. And you coach and play long enough, you're going to be on the other side every once in a while. And that's kind of what it is. So you try not to make it bigger than it is. You learn from it and then keep moving forward.
On the play down there in particular, you guys, if you just run the ball a couple times, you run probably another 80 seconds off the clock and kick a field goal, you're up 2 scores. Why risk at that point throwing the ball when you could put the game technically away at that point?
Yeah, I think in hindsight, we probably would have liked to do that if we knew we were going to throw an interception. They'd given up 2 touchdowns on that same play this year inside the 5. They're a very aggressive defense, and so going into the game, we felt really good about running a naked down there inside the 5 because of how aggressive their guys are. And there's 2 easy touchdowns against them this year. So when we didn't have I don't think we had many drives where we actually were down there inside the 5, maybe one earlier. And so whenever we got in that situation, that was a play that we'd been wanting to call all game. Then, but it didn't take long once it turned into an interception that we wish we would have ran it a few more times and done that. But I mean, we got ultimate trust and faith in Deshaun. I mean, we're not going to call a game scared or anything, or hey, I hope he doesn't throw an interception. I mean, you may do that with other quarterbacks that you've had in the past, or other quarterbacks that maybe haven't earned that trust. But I mean, Deshaun's a guy that's earned a lot of trust, and there's not as many concerns when he has the ball in his hand. He just made a poor mistake.
So when they drop,
Yeah. So the big thing is he saw, he wanted to throw the over route. That was a guy that was open twice against him, and he saw Hunter had a yard or 2 yard head start inside and was open as far as he could see. And but the difference was they were in a call where the linebackers did not step up or blitz. They were more sitting back in more of a zone look. And so he didn't expect the zone dropper to be standing right where he was. All he was doing was watching Renfro wide open, went to throw it, and instead of the guy that he expected to be lower in the box was sitting right there in that window. So.
Back in the spring, Tony said that red zone efficiency was a point of emphasis going into this year. The numbers aren't really any better. At this point in the season, is there stuff you can still do to enhance that and try to get better?
Yeah, well, we went back and looked at that. We've had 6 turnovers in the red zone. So you go back and look at, what are they from? One, Wayne Gallman fumbled. So, I mean, you can't say you're not going to run the ball. I mean, that's going to happen. Another one, Tyshawn Dye fumbled. Another one, Mike Williams, trying to make a play, fumbled against NC State. That's 3 of them. And then I think we had the 2 interceptions this week, and then maybe one more interception. Just felt like the ball was thrown against Louisville, thrown a little bit behind, and number 10 for Louisville made a heck of a play. And so when you go back and look at it, you study as a coach, is it, are we being too aggressive or doing, when you look at it, it's really just fundamentals of holding on the ball, protecting the ball. A lot of those plays, especially the 3 fumbles and one of the interceptions, were plays that you can run in the open field that weren't really red zone. We have some plays that are specific red zone throws, red zone calls that are only for the red zone. And And none of those turnovers have came during any of the red zone scheme plays. And do we want to be more efficient down there? Absolutely. There's no question about it. And can we? Absolutely. And that's our goal. And it'll continue to be a point of emphasis, for us. But, that's kind of where we are.
Mike Williams running down the defender after the interception to prevent a pick six. Have you ever seen an effort like that?
Yeah.
Wide receiver effort?
Yeah, that was great. I think earlier this year on another turnover, I think Deshaun and several of the other guys did a great job of running the guy down, and then I give Mike Williams and then also Artavis Scott, because on the game, whenever I'm watching, I just saw Mike, but come back and watch the video. Artavis was actually on the end zone at the other side, and he had an angle and was running full speed all out. So that was good to see. The guys not give up on a play, and that's kind of what Coach Sweeney is. I mean, that's another thing. You go back and watch the video. I mean, we've lost games before where we go back and the guys weren't real focused. They weren't playing real hard. We had too many missed assignments. What was it? I mean, it was one of the best effort games. I know offensively grading our guys, very few loafs, if any, and maybe we only had two MAs by the entire offense, which is season low. And felt like the guys were focused and locked in, and so we just got to do a better job in certain, this couple of these situations and making better decisions. But the guys played extremely hard. I mean, if we get that first down or we get points on one of those drives down there, we're talking about, one of the best performances of the year. But when you don't get it, then you got to deal with the other side is, and bottom line, the yards and all that stuff doesn't matter. The wins and losses matter, and we got to be able to do what it takes to get the W, and I know that's what our guys are concerned with. And but at the same time, it's not going to be we don't want to lose a lot of the positive things that we've done up to this point, and really what we did in the game. We just got to learn that it really comes down to just a couple plays, and the magic is you don't know when those plays are. If we knew that play down there on the goal line was going to be such a good play, we could have called a timeout and told everybody, hey, this is going to decide the game right here. But hey, it's one of 95, and you got to play every one of those, to the best of your ability.
It looked like Pitt was just sold out to stop lanes, and they had no concern with Deshaun running the football because of the shoulder. Going forward, you guys try to alleviate that, because obviously maybe teams are going to try to do the same thing right now.
Yeah, well, I hope they do the same thing, and we'll just throw for 580 every week, and just not have the turnovers in the end zone, and pretty dang good. And I don't think it was as much about them. I mean, schematically, even if Deshaun was healthy enough to run, it wouldn't have, you're not really helping yourself. You're still out. They had you outnumbered by two hats, and so you run the quarterback, you're only outnumbered by one hat, but you still got your quarterback running over a safety or something like that. But, you got to give them credit. They stopped us when it mattered, and that's really, if you go back and watch all of their games, Virginia Tech, they were in the exact same position, and Virginia Tech got that first down right there at the end to be able to seal it away. North Carolina was in the same position, had to go down and score with 2 seconds left, throw a fade, and maybe Oklahoma State, it came down to the same thing. So, their philosophy's been working for them, and they got the stop this time. But, a lot of those, we had 25 rushes, but I think we went back 47 of the 25 were run calls that had outlet screens or outlet quick game, and because of where their alignments were, we got the ball outside, and so I thought we handled that really well. If we didn't have those perimeter screens or perimeter quick game, then it would have definitely been a long day.
Last night, Coach Sweeney said that he thought Deshaun opted out of a run play about 30 times. Is that about right? Is that a low number, a high number?
Yeah, that's what I was saying there. I think we had 47 run plays called, and 25 we actually handed the ball off. So 22 of the 47 were run calls that had outlets built in, and it's just depending on where they line up their linebackers and safeties and corners and all that. And I think he was almost 100% in making the right decision every snap, and that's not them just lining up in the same defense every single time. I mean, they're changing around what they're doing, but I thought he handled that extremely well.
sounds high.
Well, I think it's a high number because of the scheme of their defense, because of who we're playing. You know, we haven't played anybody else this year, but I mean that's kind of their trademark of what they do. The type of defense where they're going to have their linebackers inside play and run, they're going to have their safeties down low play and run, and you know the only way that people can beat that is you got to have a quarterback that can throw it and make good decisions. You got to have wideouts that can win on the perimeter, and that was one thing I was really pleased with. I think we won every one of the one-on-one jump balls, except the only one we didn't complete. We got a PI with Deion Kane. There was a pass interference, but you know that it's not always easy. Those are typically called 50-50 balls, and we were close to 100% on those. And then they started playing soft, and then you know we had the quick outs and different type of things. But yeah, that is a high number in a typical game. You know, maybe 5 to 8 of those runs, the ball actually gets thrown out there on the perimeter. But because of what they were doing schematically, it was a higher number this week.
Coach, speaking of Deion, it seems like he's really refined the art of getting separation without committing interference. Is that something he's really worked on, and what else? What other parts of his game?
Yeah, I think you know he's getting better and better. He did a better job this week in some of his blocking out there on the perimeter. But there's no secret that he can run, and was a guy that we like to be able to get open. And he did a better job with his releases. And there's a difference in just taking off and running. But on his touchdown that he had, he really did a good job of setting the guy up and not just taking off outside, which is some things we've challenged him on. So I was really pleased with that. But he continues to be a high producer there for us with Mike.
Coach, talk about your offensive tackles, being without your 2 starting offensive tackles this week, and also moving forward in the Wake Forest game with that position.
Yeah, first of all, I'm very pleased that both of those guys were able to come in January as mid-years. It'd be extremely hard to get 2 true freshman tackles ready to go play in games like that one if they would have just showed up, you know, in July or June with the rest of the class. So I really think that them being here this spring was a huge benefit. And when they were here this spring, I don't think that we were really counting on them to go start a game, or definitely have 2 of them starting and playing the whole game together. But you know, really pleased. Obviously, they made a few mistakes, just like some of the veteran guys did. All of our guys had some mistakes in there, but for that to be their first start, and you know, Pitt had a very talented number 5. You know, I think was one of the top sack guys in the country, and they did a good job getting their hands on him and keeping him out of the backfield. And I think they'll be able to draw a lot of confidence individually from what they did. And you know, there's no better way to learn than to watch yourself out there against a good opponent. It's different than maybe just in practice, the few live reps we get. So I think those guys will continue to get better. You know, I'll let Coach Sweeney talk. I don't know what he said yet on Mitch, but doesn't look too bad. So, you know, those guys will be ready if and when they're needed.
Are you concerned about the lack of depth there, that you have to go to 2 true freshmen at that spot?
If we didn't think that they were ready to play, I'd be concerned. But I think, you know, like I said, I think Mitch is going to be fine at some point. And then also Taylor Hearn's a guy that we can play at tackle. And I think he played a little bit of tackle, and he's athletic enough that can do that. So, you know, if we continue to get a couple more guys hurt, then I think that's when you would get into more of a concern. But right now, I mean, the best thing is we went and played just about the whole game and didn't notice them. And for an offensive lineman, when you're not noticing them, that's a good thing. It means they're doing their job, and especially against a top-tier pass rusher like they had out there. So definitely a lot of things for them guys to learn from, but also gain some confidence in what they did, playing a lot of plays.
Has Hearn cross-trained much at tackle?
Yeah. Coach Caldwell does a really good job of cross-training guys, and Hearn is one of those guys that can go in and out. And John Simpson's another guy that's really coming on at guard inside. So that gives you freedom to allow someone like Hearn to go play tackle when needed. But yeah, we've definitely been cross-training those guys.
Cornell Powell in pretty good shape coming off that hamstring.
Yeah, he was I guess well enough to play, but I don't know if he's quite 100%. Hamstrings take a little longer, and so we'll see kind of where he is this week.
How would you critique the run blocking? I know obviously the pass protection's been good. Has the run blocking been up
to where your expectations have been this year?
You know, it's really hard to evaluate those guys. I mean, obviously there's things that we can do better, but it's when they got extra hats in there, it's hard to evaluate because their assignments change. You know, it's pretty easy when you got clean boxes, you know, and you're double teaming this guy to that one backer. But now when you got an extra backer over here and a safety coming over here, you know, you can't be as firm right up there on the line where you want to be. And but you know, we definitely can do better, like we can do at every position. But a big part of it, to be honest, is you know, schematically what people are. And I don't think it's something that they're all just deciding to do this against Clemson. I think it's just kind of the teams that we're playing. I think if we are playing a few other teams, you know, they're going to play us a little bit different. But you know, Pitt, that's what they do, and they happen to be the next one on the schedule. And I'm sure we'll face some teams as we go down the road here that, you know, maybe are not as aggressive in stopping the run and maybe a little bit more concerned with the passing game, and hopefully that'll open up some more opportunities. But at the end of the day, as a coach and as a player, you know, and I think we're fortunate enough that we have enough offensively that that we can really do either, whichever one, you know, whatever they're trying to stop, we have an answer the other way. It would be a lot more difficult some years maybe where you're a heavy run team and don't quite have the guys on the perimeter or the quarterback, then it can make for a long day. But we're fortunate that, you know, we feel like we can do either, and it really comes down to what they want to do defensively and then our guys making good decisions. All right. Thank you. All right.
Jeff.